If you want to know why Jessica Rabbit was almost in this movie, listen to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty, and I am one of your co-hosts.
And I am Distance, the Pumpkin King.
And tonight is the Metacast movie show about Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas is a 1993 fantasy musical. It's directed by Henry Selick, with a screenplay by Caroline Thompson, story by Tim Burton.
It stars Danny Elfman, Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara, and William Hickey.
The budget for this movie was around $26 million, with a box office take of $91.5 million.
The tomato meter rating was 95% with an audience score of 91%.
So The Night Before Christmas tells the story of Jack Skellington, who is, as Distance alluded to, the Pumpkin King, the disillusioned Pumpkin King of a town called Halloween. While he's taking a walk to clear his thoughts, he discovers his fascination for Christmas and tries to share that love with the citizens of his town. So this movie is, I mean, I've said this a few times with the other movies we've done, but this movie is definitely a classic. This is a movie that I grew up on, watched quite a few times, owned the soundtrack on a cassette, and pretty much wore that thing out as a kid. Like, actually, one of my favorite albums for a long time was the soundtrack for this movie, actually. Geez, I don't even know what ages that would have been. I was probably in elementary school, I guess, during that. Probably elementary school and then like early middle school before I started listening to like, my own music, I would guess. But as far as giving this movie a verdict, I would have to say before I say my verdict, I do have to preface it with I can't fucking stand musicals. I hate musicals. So that even with that though, I still have to give this movie a yes. This movie's so good that I can still enjoy it while it's a musical, and I sing along to the songs, and I even enjoy the songs, even though I normally hate musicals. So there's something about this movie that I just think is really, really well done. I love it. Not to mention just the actual amazing logistics of doing this movie. Stop animation is incredibly difficult, and this is a masterpiece of stop animation. So it's like, even just for that, I think this movie is worth watching. So as far as the should you watch, I have to give this a yes.
Yeah, for this one, it's kind of the same for me. I remember, it was one of the like fast food places that had the like toys you would get like with the meal or whatever. Mm-hmm. I had a Nightmare Before Christmas watch, like a little cheap digital watch that had like the cliff that kind of uncurls and then Jack walks down it. It's like when he's standing on the little cliff. Yeah. And this movie, like, yeah, it's just something that from my childhood, I just remember it being like something that kind of impacted me. Maybe one of the first movies that I watched that I could, even though I didn't understand the words to use, I think I could appreciate that I had just seen something that was well done. Yeah. It was the first movie that I think I saw that I really got that feeling. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't understand story arc. I didn't understand musical scores. I didn't understand cinematography or lighting, but there was just something about this movie when I saw it as a kid. I'm going to say it was like first or second grade, maybe. Yeah. That it just kind of left sort of an impression on me.
This, I think it's around the same time, but it was similar to Toy Story with me. I think those two movies were both just like had a level of quality that as a kid I saw them and then recognized that it was like, oh shit, this is really good. But like you're saying, like it wasn't I wasn't able to consciously put together like what made it good. It was just like, oh shit, this is good stuff. Yeah, so you ready to get into you ready to bring out spoiler Terry?
Yeah, let's get a visit from Spoiler Terry. For anyone who hasn't seen this movie.
Exactly. Yeah, like how do you spoil The Nightmare Before Christmas? If you wanted to right now spoil it for someone, could you?
I feel like I don't know, man. Like there has to be at least some subset of people that haven't seen it.
No, the point that I was trying to go for though is even if you haven't seen it, I think one of the cool things about this movie is like not to take away from the story, but that's not really what matters. There's not this like there's no pivotal moment that you could spoil for someone that would make any sort of impact. You could tell someone anything and they could still watch the movie and I think still get 100% enjoyment out of it. It's not like it's going to take away at all from their experience.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, in many ways, listening to this before you watch the movie might even enhance the experience a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. It might be shit. So
yeah, like I could imagine, you know, like, so now that we are in spoiler alerts, but yeah, if you even told someone that it's like, oh, you know, like at the very end, you know, Jack gets shot down and you think he's dead, but he comes back. It's like, does that actually take away from any part of experience in the movie? It's like, I would argue no. And I think that's actually kind of cool that, you know, many movies, it almost relies on the story having some sort of twist or surprise to make it feel like it's worth watching. You know, like it almost like to me almost feels like it cheapens those movies. Like if you can spoil the movie for someone with one sentence, that's kind of it tells it something interesting about like how important just simply the story or that surprise is. Yeah,
I feel yeah, it's like I think movies that rely on this one moment to kind of like make the story so like profound and interesting. Like M. Night Shyamalan, like I actually kind of got tired of his movies after a while.
Well, exactly. It's the whole like, for lack of a better term, it's basically like the Boy Who Cried Wolf thing, where if your whole thing is having an unexpected twist, they become not unexpected. When people go into like, every single one of your movies wondering like, oh, I wonder what the twist in this one's going to be. It's like, well, at that point, they kind of lose their effect of being a twist.
Yeah, and because the audience's gears are just turning the whole time trying to figure out what the twist is instead of actually watching the freaking movie and letting it take its effect.
Exactly. Like, yeah, if which one was it? If The Village would have been made by another filmmaker, I probably would not have guessed that ending. But because that was an M. Night Shyamalan movie, the entire time I was like, all right, what is the twist in this? And like I was able to very, very early in my first watching of that movie know exactly where it was going. And it was simply because I knew that I was looking for some sort of twist. Whereas if it would have just been, you know, like a normal movie, that probably would have come out of the blue and surprised me and been like, oh shit, that's actually kind of cool.
So I think we should just go ahead and get Tim Burton out of the way because he had very little to do with the film. Other than just coming up with the idea and the artwork.
It's basically the characters and like the rough outline of the story, right?
Yeah, and then like a lot of the characters being like much of the artwork, but some of it they still kind of changed. Mm-hmm. Like the monster wreath was actually supposed to be a monster Christmas tree, but then it was really? like just little things like that. But because like Tim Burton was working on Batman Returns while this movie was in production, so then he gets Henry Selick to basically take it over. And a sculptor he met from Disney, I forget the guy's name. He was like helping with creative direction, but he was also working on Batman Returns.
That is a shame that, like we were talking about, the most, in my opinion, one of the most interesting and the craziest thing about this movie is the actual undertaking of just making it. And it's a shame that like we know Tim Burton's name right off the bat when he didn't really have much to do with this movie actually, and then we don't know the sculptors' names that really made this. Like that's kind of unfortunate, just the way that credits work. But
yeah, and Tim Burton kind of, I mean, he was just kind of around here and there. I think Henry Selick mentioned changing the ending, and Tim got upset and kicked a hole in a wall in their production facility.
Oh wow.
Which is funny because he after he kicked the hole in the wall, he was asked, "Are you okay?" To which his response was, "Yeah, they're steel toes."
It does not sound like someone I'd want to work with, really.
The writer, which I think didn't Catherine O'Hara was the writer, wasn't she?
Well, according to the credits that I was looking at, the writer. Yeah, the screenplay was really by Carolyn Thompson, but
okay, Carolyn Thompson. That's okay. I couldn't remember. It was a C name, but there's a point where she actually, the writer Carolyn Thompson, mentioned in like the editing room that she to Tim Burton that she thought that maybe she could get a better ending.
Which there was also, I guess, part of the writing process was this Michael McDowell, who they credit him as doing the adaptation. So I'm not sure, I guess, like, if you have a story by Tim Burton and then Carolyn Thompson writes the screenplay, I don't necessarily know what the adaptation is. I thought adaptation was taking a story and adapting it into a screenplay.
Well, he didn't write he was supposed to write the actual screenplay, but he didn't write a word of it because he had a terrible drug habit.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So do you know the story of how she actually ended up writing the movie?
Not at all. No, I'm interested.
Okay. So she was Danny Elfman's girlfriend at the time.
That's cool. Okay.
And the person that actually wrote the adaptation, he is the guy that wrote Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's why Tim Burton wanted to get him to do it. And then Carolyn Thompson, she wrote Edward Scissorhands. But
this dude also wrote Thinner.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did the screenplay for Thinner. Okay, that's interesting. Cool.
Because he's more of like kind of maybe like a horror writer, I guess. I think it's more his thing. But when he ended up not writing a word of it, and she had been in the living with Danny Elfman, who had written all the songs, and she'd heard him writing them. She kind of had a grasp on what the story should sort of be in between.
Gotcha.
And I mean, even then, there isn't really much you have to write. I mean, the story, and that's one of the reasons why I think there would have been less music, but because Tim Burton started working with Danny Elfman, telling him story ideas and like different outlines of the story. Okay. And Danny would just write the songs. So before a single word of the script was written, I think probably more than half, if not all the songs were done.
Yeah, because they already knew like an overview of what the story, the main points the story needed to hit. So they created those song plot points and everything. Yeah.
So, I mean, it is weird that Danny Elfman was actually dating her and he was living with her because apparently there was something going on with his house. I guess it was being renovated or some shit. And so she had some exposure to lots of the points of the story. And then when the original screenplay writer kind of fell through, she was just sort of there like, hey, we worked with each other before. I know you got kind of mad at me on the set of Edward Scissorhands, but the thing about Tim Burton is that he's one of those people that he has terrible people skills.
Really? Okay.
And because he makes shitloads of money and is pretty much the top dog for every film, he can get away with acting like a 2-year-old.
Yeah, got it.
Because no one's going to tell him not to.
Yeah.
So he threw a couple fits, particularly around the ending changing a couple times. He actually fought an editing machine when Carolyn Thompson mentioned.
Do you know what the details of the ending change were?
They were going to make it a Scooby-Doo ending, right?
No, I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. I don't know what you're actually talking about.
Okay, so there were two different times that the two different times that people mentioned changing the ending, Tim Burton lost his shit. Henry Selick mentioned an ending change, which is when Tim Burton kicked a hole in a wall.
Okay.
And I think after he did that, they put something over it, like Tim was here, or like kicked by Tim Burton.
That's funny.
Or like just because I thought it was funny. And then Carolyn Thompson mentioned to him during the editing process that she wanted to change it. So the first ending change, Henry Selick wanted to do a fucking Scooby-Doo ending.
Well, what do you mean by that? What is a Scooby-Doo ending?
Like the Oogie Boogie was going to turn out to be the doctor, the scientist guy. And like, oh, you were Oogie Boogie the whole time?
Yeah, why would
you meddling kids like you? Which is stupid. Like that's a terrible ending. That would have been crap.
Yeah, it would just be like an unnecessary level of complication into the story that for absolutely no reason. That just seems very strange.
And for me, like a good director they can spot a good script, but I would say most of them can't really write one. And if you're directing a movie, you should know that is your role and not try to like write things. But there's some stuff that the production team actually added in there that wasn't written. Okay. But that happens anyway.
Yeah. Just during the process of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Best line in The Fugitive was Tommy Lee Jones improvising and simplifying a line. It's when
hold on. Don't spoil it. What if we do The Fugitive? Then I'll know what your
Seriously?
favorite line is.
Well, that's not my favorite line. It's just the best one.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fair.
Oftentimes, my favorite line isn't the best one, but it's a part where Harrison Ford's like, "I didn't do it," and then Tommy Lee Jones says, "I don't care."
Yeah, that is a good line.
It was supposed to be like a fucking paragraph. Like it was going to be some long, drawn out thing, and it just made more sense for him to say, "I don't care."
Well, just like how the Harrison Ford pulling out a gun and shooting the dude with the sword on, is that Raiders of the Lost Ark? I forget which Indiana Jones movie that was, but that was apparently improvised. He was actually supposed to have a sword fight with that guy, and instead he just like, I think from what I heard, he was sick that day, and just so his take of it was like, instead I'm just gonna pull out the gun and shoot him, and they ended up going with that take. He just really didn't feel up to shooting the sword fight scene that day.
And that's one thing that's cool is like when someone improvises and everyone is able to stay in character, that like makes to me like the best actors can do that. And movies turn out really well when actors can.
Because there's certain moments that no matter how good actors are, there are certain moments that you cannot construct the actual randomness. So when it's an improvised moment like that, as long as everyone on the set can roll with it and you can actually keep that take, it becomes like something you could not recreate.
And so as a stop animation type film, a lot of the improv just happened from the production team. They added some things here and there to just add a little attitude to the movie. Actually, the part where Santa says, "Haven't you heard of peace on earth and goodwill toward man?" And the children go, "No!" That was not in the script.
Oh, that's cool.
That whole part was not in the script. I don't know if it was the whole thing or just the part where the kids scream no. But it to me is just like, there's a lot of cool stuff. But there's so many different like fun trivia facts about the movie. Like the production team actually did What's This first. That was the very first thing they filmed.
I love that song too. That's awesome. I didn't know that was the first thing. That's cool.
It was so they wouldn't scare the Disney people. They're like, let's do like these cutesy like Disney character one, like where there's smiling and shit. So that way we don't scare the shit out of them.
Because if you showed them like this is Halloween first or something like that, it'd be like, what the hell is this?
Like or really anything else, like even Jack's Lament. Pretty much any part of the film would have like weirded them out. That shit's so fucking weird.
It is weird.
I like the fact that they make Oogie Boogie so groovy. I like that he's almost got soul kind of.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got some stank. Which is I think the funniest thing is that like apparently Danny Elfman was really worried that Oogie Boogie would be considered racist, and that actually ended up happening. Like he did.
Considered Oogie Boogie racist?
Apparently so. Like director Henry Selick stated that the character was inspired by the Betty Boop cartoon, The Old Man of the Mountain. And like the way he, like you're talking about, kind of like being a little too jazzy, the way that they would rotoscope him, trace him, and turn him into a character. Apparently here, like, I guess we went with Ken Page, who was here. He had no problem with it. I don't know. It is just here on the Wikipedia, it does talk about that there was a little bit of a fallout, I guess. I don't know if it was the NAACP or what, but there were some people that did not like the Oogie Boogie character and said that it might have been a little on the racist side.
I mean, I'm not here to comment on that. Unless we're talking about Tropic Thunder, I refuse to talk about racism. Because in Tropic Thunder, it's unavoidable. You can't. But no, it's because he has like a sort of a Louisiana kind of blues thing going on.
Yeah.
And I could hear like a little bit of like kind of Creole influence in there. But I mean, I understand like maybe like it. I mean, it is weird that Oogie Boogie is wearing a pale outfit and has a kind of cone-shaped. Yeah, the hood is a little. I didn't really think about that till just now.
There was a clan of people that wore clothes like that I could think of in the past.
A group of individuals led by a wizard. So do you know the fun fact about how Danny Elfman actually got into writing scores?
I do not know. Lay it on me.
Do you know who Paul Rubens is?
Hold on, that name sounds really familiar. Who is that?
I know you know who Pee Wee Herman is.
Of course, yeah, okay.
That's the guy that played Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
Pee Wee's Grand Adventure, they allowed him to choose whatever director he wanted.
Okay.
And so that was Tim Burton. And they actually approached Danny Elfman about writing a score.
That's cool.
For the was it Grand Adventure, Great Adventure? I can't remember. Or was it Big Adventure?
I'm not sure actually. Yep.
But yeah, so then I guess after that, Danny Elfman just started doing scores for movies. Like that just became his thing. Because you know, if you hear him talk about the idea of Jack is that, you know, Danny was in that band Boingo Boingo in the 80s, and he was actually tired of being a rock star.
Okay.
So he kind of felt the same way that Jack felt.
Yeah,
like, I'm tired of this shit. So like that's why they left him as a singing voice, but apparently his acting was really like wooden or like shitty. So they were like, look, dude, we can't have you do the dialogue. You're awful.
Oh, so hold on. Did he record the spoken dialogue for? I didn't know that. So there's like an edit. Is there a way you could find and put together the version of him playing Jack? That'd be interesting.
You could maybe get a hold of it. I don't know if they actually did the whole film. They might have just done a portion of the dialogue, heard it played back, and been like, "This is shit." I don't know that they actually there was never a production version of the film with his dialogue.
Yeah. Well, you know that like Chris Farley recorded many of his lines as Shrek before he died.
Wait, Chris Farley was supposed to do Shrek?
Chris Farley was the original Shrek before Mike Myers, yeah, and he was like, he had recorded a lot of the dialogue. So like, there's somewhere out there's like lot of.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Which I think it's kind of better that it ended up being. I could not picture Shrek not having that Scottish accent though. It would, that is just the Shrek voice to me. So it would be so weird to hear, but.
I think that kind of made the character, honestly, and if Chris Farley had done it, it would have been a very different movie. Not necessarily worse, but it would have been different.
Yeah, as hell. Exactly. Even with the same script, would have just felt very, very different. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the kind of the stuff surrounding the movie. Yeah. But I kind of want to get into the meat.
The actual like movie itself. Yeah.
So what? Oh, another fun fact. I think when they did the focus group with children, the kids like were interested, but they didn't love it.
Really? Huh.
It was more like watching something terrible happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And when they'd done that, they were like, once that was done, Disney was like, okay, we're not going to market this movie to kids. They were like, we'll just kind of it's a movie that kids can watch. I'm pretty sure it was PG, but it was like, they were like, this doesn't seem to really resonate with them. I think that when you're used to like the cutesy kind of Disney thing, that there's something sort of dark about it, I guess, that maybe kids couldn't really get at the time, which is weird because I loved it.
Yeah, I don't
remember ever disliking the film. And I'm very tickled by all the branding. I mean, how many people you see with Jack Skellington tattoos? It happens very often. I would say on a quarterly basis.
It did become like a weird cult thing, kind of in the, I mean, I guess like mid 2000s. Like when I picture, like if you close your eyes and picture a mid 2000s mall that has like either a Hot Topic or a Spencer's Gifts, there is Nightmare Before Christmas stuff in like all throughout both of those stores.
Yeah, and Nightmare's kind of a misfits movie. Like it's supposed to sort of cater to like the kind of the weirder individuals. I use the term weird loosely. And I mean, the people that did the movie, like they were all quite strange individuals, like not just Tim, but like the animation team. Danny Elfman's kind of odd. Everybody's got like this sort of oddball kind of personality.
What are you saying about Catherine O'Hara right now?
I mean, she's weird.
You're such a rude person. She's a national treasure. Hold on, is she American?
Catherine, I with a name like
no, she's Canadian. Fuck.
Oh damn. Well, she's part of the Americas.
Yeah, she's from Toronto. Yeah. All right, never mind. I mean, she's weird. She's weird as fuck.
I mean, I had a crush on Catherine O'Hara for a while. I think everybody did. the only thing I can remember her saying in a movie ever is "Kevin," and that's about it.
Yep.
And then Schitt's Creek, I think she was in that series. I didn't really watch that much.
Yeah, my parents are watching that, and I've seen a few episodes with them recently. It is actually really funny. I didn't know this until recently. You know how Eugene Levy is the main male? His son is in it, and they play a father-son dynamic in the show as well. And it's really funny that they're actually like father and son in real life too. Like a lot of the scenes with them like playing father-son like interactions is really good in that.
It helps to play a character when you're not actually in character.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
You just do what you do. Do you actually have a favorite song in this movie?
Oh man. Yeah, I really like What's This. I've always okay, as far as songs go, I think that one is just really catchy. Like if I were to listen to the melody of a song and enjoy it the most, I think What's This is the one that like catches my ear the most. But I've always been really drawn to the is it Jack's Lament, the one that has the Jack the Pumpkin King, grown so tired. Yeah. Yep. That's I've always really liked that song too.
There's something about What's This, that the way that the arrangement's really good. The way that Danny Elfman uses the vocals in there, the melody that's used, like he has this thing where he'll accelerate the syllables.
Yeah.
Like it'll go from like eighth notes to 16th notes for just a few moments, where he's like, or not even. Yeah, I guess those would be 16th notes. Where he's like, "What's going on? Am I going daffy?" Like something about. Mm-hmm. But it's the coming back to the phrase "What's this?"
Yeah.
And there's like that kind of brief pause there. Like it's a super catchy song. There's lots of like energy in the song, kind of like going up and down, kind of so to speak. And it really captures the excitement. And that song is like it's like almost this awakening of curiosity in a bored person. Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
It's like feeling like a kid again, like that feeling like there's something new, something that undiscovered, that this boredom he feels. And you hear like in Lament, like he's so sad, he's so bored, and he even boasts about himself, like, yeah, I'm really good at this, I'm great at that, I can do this, but if only the people around here knew. Like they all think that if they were me, that everything would be great, but they don't even know. They don't know. Like I'm so tired of this. Like, I'm so great, but who cares? You know, that kind of thing.
I like the arc though of it though. I really enjoyed watching this film as an adult though, and realizing that he goes through that journey of being bored, you know, because he is you know, for lack of a better term, like a master of his craft. You know, he doesn't really have anywhere to go. Like you're saying, everyone kind of looks up to him and thinks that he's like, you know, so great, but he feels empty. And then he finds this thing that intrigues him, that is Christmas, and he is fascinated by it, but through the course of the movie discovers that even though he is really fascinated by it, it's not necessarily his world. He doesn't really fit, and it's kind of like the realizing where you fit, realizing your place, and realizing that like he doesn't have to be bored with I guess boredom with his field doesn't mean that he needs to necessarily like go outside of it and search for something else. He like even at the end, like he finds other ways within Halloween to like and then like the last song he's saying like he's excited for the next year because he's got some new ideas that'll really make them scream. So he's able to like reignite a passion that he finds for the world that he's supposed to fit in. He doesn't necessarily have to like, you know, step out and look for something else. It's not always the like grass is greener thing.
Yeah, it's sort of this like wish that some people sometimes have to be someone else that comes from like comparing ourselves to others. Yeah. There's a Typo Negative song, which I mean their nickname was like the Drab 4, I think.
Okay.
They're like a sort of a doomy kind of hard rock band from the early 90s. They have a song called I Don't Want to Be Me.
Okay.
And there's just so much about like where Jack isn't just tired of doing the same thing. He's tired of being the person that he is. And
Yeah.
instead of having an appreciation for what he's good at, he wants to go do this other thing that isn't really his forte. It's a thing that he doesn't understand fully to the point where he can do a particularly good job. And there is some degree of selfishness in it.
Yeah.
When he talks about Christmas will be mine, that kind of thing.
Definitely.
And I think he recognizes
there's probably part of it that it's just enticing because it's new and different.
Yeah.
Like year after year of being Santa Claus probably would have felt the same way to him.
Yeah. I mean, if he just kept doing that, then I'm sure he would have gotten tired of it too. Yeah. But there's this idea. I mean, people get bored all the time. It's like, I'm tired of being this thing. I'm tired of being that thing. But it's like, are you really, is another thing really the answer? Or is it that you should continue where you are and just double down and triple down on what you're already good at? And that's not saying like not to have an adventure every now and then, but the idea of completely changing into something that you just really aren't, like, that doesn't, because I just don't feel like Jack was being true to himself, you know?
Exactly. And you can change your approach towards how you're doing the same thing without having to change what you're doing.
True.
Yeah.
Like you can revolutionize the thing that you're already doing. And you can create fulfillment in that instead of trying to be someone or something else. But there's one thing that you mentioned about the sort of cult following, in like around 2000, between 2000 and probably, I don't know, 2010. I mean, even now to this day, I'm sure plenty of people are still getting Jack Skellington tattoos. I'm sure that plenty of people have masks, COVID-19 sort of masks that have Jack's smile on them.
I bet, yeah.
I mean, actually, I think I've seen one that actually had his whole face on it at one point. But there was something about.
Yep, I just found some right now. Yep.
Oh, we might need to get some. I would be interested.
There is actually there's a pretty cool Sally mask that I've got on screen.
Sweet.
Yeah,
you would.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And there's a full face. Hold on, which one is it? Is it Locke or Stock? Or no, it's Locke, the one that has the devil mask. There's his actual mask is kind of cool. That's free.
Oh shit. But I mean, the merchandising about of the film, like, is what kind of keeps it going now. Yeah. And that's actually what made a lot of the production crew realize that, this is erupted. Because I think, didn't they like break? Didn't they come close to breaking even? Let me look at the notes on here.
Oh no, the box office did great. I don't. But that's also.
I think this includes another run of the film, doesn't
exactly,
it?
Yeah, because that is one thing I'm wondering. The total that I have here in our stats is just from the Wikipedia page, which I think includes, according to this, I think there were actually 3 runs. Did you know that this was in this was actually in theaters again this year?
Really?
Yeah, it was re-released in October of 2020. Actually, it was like it placed 4th, right behind Tenet. The few weeks that it was like in theaters, like it actually like still in 2020, 17 years after. No, I'm sorry. Oh my God, is it 27 years after coming out? Jesus, yeah, even more than that. 27 years after coming out, the movie is still like able to take 4th on, in a box office.
And to me, it was the Christmas movie for Scrooges. That for me, like I despise like Western Christmas traditions. It just makes me sick. I hate the music. I hate the sweaters. I hate all the stores being super, super busy. But I do like that it brings out the worst in people.
Oh yeah. Just to clarify, it does say here that so the initial run was about 50 million. And I guess, but it was a long theatrical run, so it was kind of slow picking up, and it was considered a sleeper hit, quote unquote, I guess, at that time. But then so there's been multiple other box office re-releases, so the total of 91.5 million is all of that. Like in 2006 the run was 11.1 million, in 2007 8 and 9 the 15.8 million, 2.5 million, etc. So yeah, it all adds up to that. But still, the initial release though was still a $50 million run on a $26 million budget, so it was still like a profitable movie.
So it looks like it actually did Very well, I would say. I mean, doubling is good. I mean, you know, you make your revenue in the amount of money that was spent. But you know, but that whole like Christmas thing, like I don't. It's this thing where we create some season where we're supposed to behave the way we're supposed to fucking behave the entire year anyway. So it's like, oh, I'm going to take, you know, a month out of my life and not be an asshole to people. Like, how about you just do this shit every day? It's like Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. Like these are ways you should be treating your partner and your parents all the time. Like, why make a holiday out of it? But, you know, whatever. I like it because it is now a classic Christmas film, but it isn't a traditional Christmas film.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
That it is once again a stop animation Christmas film, which those were classics. There's many of those, and I don't completely hate those. Actually, the Jack Frost one's kind of cool, but it's a very like kind of, I'm like, bah humbug, except for this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this one. Hold on. Do you also dislike Elf?
I fucking hate Elf.
You hate Elf? What?
I can't stand the movie. Like Zooey Deschanel doesn't even save that movie for me.
Hold on, but Will Ferrell doesn't save?
No, that movie. I hate that movie.
Please don't tell me you hate Will Ferrell.
I don't know. I think Will Ferrell's hilarious. Okay. I like many of the films he's been in. Even Blades of Glory I liked, and a lot of people hated that one. I think Will Ferrell's hilarious. Talladega Nights is probably one of my favorite comedies ever. Anchorman's brilliant. I don't know, man. Elf was just too cheesy. And I know that I'm saying that in favor of it because, Nightmare Before Christmas isn't cheesy at all. No, it definitely is. But I don't like just the lines. Like, I love smiling. It's my favorite. Bite me. I don't know. It just sucks. I understand why other people like it though.
I need to pick another movie for next week. Shit.
Wait, were you seriously gonna do Elf next week?
No. I'm kidding.
Oh shit! Like, come on, dude.
No,
you're killing me. Like we've done movies that I haven't liked before, but Elf is on another level.
No, next week is Inception.
I get.
No, I'm kidding.
It's just the other movie I hate.
Wait, hold on. If next week was a choice between Elf and Inception, which would you pick?
Inception.
Suicide.
Yeah, it's like I would find a very tall building and I would jump off of it with both copies of DVDs of the movies in my hands. Not Blu-ray, not 4K.
Yep.
DVD.
That's fair.
I'd get fucking VHS tapes if I could find them.
No, flash drives with them torrented on them, because that way you didn't.
You'd have to pay for it.
You didn't support that. Yeah.
Well, like, there is something that's kind of cool because when Sally is sort of kind of spying on Jack when he's doing the lament song, that she has this like, I'm not the only one kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Because she's got like a scientist creator that's a little bit rapey.
That was like a really weird dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you're mine. It's like so fucking weird.
She's like, but I'm restless.
Then he like makes his own, like another version that somehow like likes him or whatever.
In his own image.
Oh, the Jessica Rabbit comment.
Yeah. What was that about?
She was originally like a femme fatale type character.
Okay, yeah.
She was like kind of had like kind of bigger like hair, and she had like Madonna cone bra type physique going on.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm just gonna leave it like that. But it was written completely differently when Carolyn Thompson got a hold of it, because she sort of wrote Sally as more the type of person that she felt like she was.
Yeah.
Because she didn't find that character relatable.
Okay.
Tim Burton drew Sally like Catwoman in Batman Returns that he was actually working on.
Yep.
During this film's production. And so that was the Jessica Rabbit thing, because she was a very, very, very different character when he drew her up.
That's interesting.
The idea you get of the art. Like, if you could, I wish I would have found a photo that we could have put on.
I'm searching for one. Yeah.
But it's I think that there's one sketch that has only actually been like shown in one film, which was the recent Netflix documentary that was done about the production of this. I don't think there's any other place where you could actually find the media for it. But I'll if I can find it, I'll send it to you later just so you can see.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was kind of what this movie did for me, because I felt the same way that Sally felt when she heard Jack. Not because I was sad or dissatisfied with life, but when I found out other people liked this movie, I was happy. I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. And there is this feeling of like kindredness that you feel with someone when they're wearing a Jack Skellington beanie or a Jack Skellington hoodie. Or you see like Sally on the back of someone's shirt. Like you have this feeling like there's someone that gets it. They got it. Because there's a lot of people that see this movie and are very weirded out by it and just don't fucking get it.
It is like that kind of counterculture. Oh my god, I don't want to use the word dog whistle, but it kind of is. Like even oh fuck, what Blink-182 song is it where Tom says like we can live like Jack and Sally if we want, or like, or no, actually I think it's Mark that says that too. But
that's not I Miss You song, isn't it?
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's that. Yeah. But exactly, so it's like even like among that type of person that listens to Blink-182,
and after that he says, and you can always find me, and we'll have Halloween on Christmas.
Yep.
We can. I forget what he says after that.
Wish this never ends or something. In the night will wish this never ends.
Oh, yeah.
Don't waste your time.
Oh god.
Yeah, something about the voice
so bad.
The voice inside my head, I think is.
Yeah, that sounds like what he's saying. California, man. What can I say? Yeah. And there's just and like the feeling of lament, being tired of what you're doing and being tired of where you are, is something that everybody can get.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people can relate to the whole trying this other thing out and realizing it's just not for you thing. I think a lot of us have done that. I think a lot of us have found grass is greener moments in all kinds of things, jobs, hobbies, sports, relationships, that, you know, whatever you think is there, it probably isn't. And it's better to appreciate who and what you are instead of trying to be or wishing you were something else. Did you notice the fact that there are no actual 90-degree angles in Halloweentown?
No, I don't think I did, actually. That's interesting.
For the art team, that was one of Tim Burton's guidelines, was no right angles.
Huh.
The thing he said, the comparison he made was, I want it to look like if you were to take your hand and rub it over the top of Halloweentown, that your hand would come back cut up.
Huh.
Because there would be sharp angles. And the color palette was limited too, and they did that on purpose also.
Definitely, yeah.
But if you look at it,
in Halloweentown, because like the one part when he goes to the Christmas world, you see colors that you never see in any other part of this movie. Yeah.
Which I think creates the biggest contrast there, and you can see like they just don't get it when he's like, the one line, was it the head I found in the like inside the box, like the present box? He's saying maybe it was is
it the head I found inside the lake or something? Yeah.
Yeah, like he says something like that. It's like, what? And none of them understand it. And you know, I love it. Like at the end, like the way they speak is different. Like, it was the most horrible Halloween yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, geez, man, thank God that they cast somebody else for the voice acting because I think Danny Elfman probably did butcher it. I think Chris Sarandon was great for the dialogue. I think he plays the character really well. And so Danny Elfman, he couldn't talk like he sang.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I did not know up until literally this week that was two different voices. So there's not enough of a stark difference between their voices that it's like jarring. That was able to like, you know, I literally thought it was the same voice actor singing and talking the entire time.
If you listen to each of them speak, Chris Sarandon sounds different the way he actually speaks, but I think it speaks to his voice acting talents that he was able to make it sound that close, because Danny Elfman, I would say his acting comes through in the singing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine anybody else doing that. Like, he does such a good job of, especially in Jack's Lament, and where he he does a lot of like the sad kind of boyish thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's moments of like sinister kind of like darkness, because this is the king of Halloween, for God's sake. And the way that he deepens his voice, and also even what he does with the chords when he says Pumpkin King.
Yeah.
It's very sinister.
Yeah,
and he has
it
like
is,
really heavy like low end on it. I think the chords are probably inverted.
I almost like credit that line as being like something that got me into metal music, really. Like I feel like that was like that planted the scenes of me liking almost like harsher vocals and stuff later down the line. It was just like there's something kind of like heavy about that one line that I remember being a young kid like listening to that specific part of the song, like I really like that, like that's cool.
And even like you see his face change in the animation when he sings those parts. So yeah, there's something very cool about it. It's very like it's big. It's a very big sound in the midst of this very sad song. But I think Kidnap the Santa Claus might be my favorite. Well, dude, have you heard Nightmare Revisited, the album?
Yeah, it's really good. That's the one that has like Marilyn Manson and everyone on it, right?
Yes, the version that Korn does of Kidnap the Santa Claus is brilliant.
I bet it's good. I need to hear that.
Is that if you listen to the kind of weirder shit that there was, Jonathan Davis, the weirder shit that their singer would do in some of their earlier songs, like he was made for that song.
Are you talking about like the gremlin speak kind of stuff?
Yeah, like where he even does the good job. Yeah, that shit. Yeah, and there's even a part where he does the lines of each of the kids.
Okay.
And he does a good job of, you can tell it's a different person speaking.
I love Lock, Stock, and Barrel too. Those are such great names for the kids.
Oh yeah, they're almost like this relatable kind of mischievous, where like you kind of know they're sort of evil, but somehow they're relatable.
That's actually a movie I want to put on the list, honestly.
Oh, was that Guy Ritchie one?
Yeah, Lock, Stock. Yeah, have you seen that in a long time?
It's been a while. I might have that. I used to own a copy of it actually on disc. I might still have it. It has one of my favorite scenes. Okay, you know, like the scenes in movies that are like weird timing scenes, like where something very outlandish happens in a very unexpected place, and it's typically in comedies. Yeah. That movie has one of my favorite scenes like that, where there's this bizarre thing that happens out of completely fucking nowhere. That it's, and if you remember, you probably know what scene I think
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but it ends up meaning something later. But and there's a lot of movies that were done in the Guy Ritchie style like that I really liked.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine if they did like a Guy Ritchie version of Nightmare Before Christmas?
I'd be into it, honestly. This is a movie that apparently they talked about doing a sequel. I think it was like around 2002, 2001. There was some disagreement, I guess, that what did it say here? Disney apparently wanted to use computer animation. Burton convinced Disney to drop the idea. He wanted them to stick with stop animation. But I think that ended up with the project just kind of being abandoned. But it's interesting that it's like, many people, like when they really like something, they almost think that like a sequel or a reboot would like cheapen it. But I wonder, like, if there was a remake, a reboot, would you be interested in seeing that? Or do you think that you like the original enough that you're just like, I'd pass on that?
I would see it if Chris Nolan directed it.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's the only way I would do it. If Michael Bay directed it, I would go to a town square. I would cover myself in fuel and I would light myself on fire in protest.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Dude,
but I mean, they wouldn't do that. I mean, nobody would have to direct it.
The scenes. Okay, if Michael Bay did this, the scenes at the end of the army trying to shoot down Jack, though, would be badass.
Yeah,
that one part of the movie would just be like explosions everywhere. But
they should just let him direct that part and then like not let him do anything else. But you know what happens? Like, I'm Optimus. I mean, Jack Jack Skellington. But yeah, I mean, if they got someone like, I think Chris Nolan would do a really good job directing it, but it would have to be stop animation, because there's a new appreciation that I have for this movie, because when I was a kid, I didn't really understand stop animation, but there's something so organic about, because the lighting is real.
Yeah.
And there's something so organic about it, especially at the beginning when they're doing This Is Halloween, the vampire guys, when they come out, the lighting in that scene is fucking brilliant. There's something about that part right there where I'm like, wow, that looks great. And the way they kind of cast shadows at this weird angle too. Like, I understand the stop animation's tedious and crazy, but I mean, the degree of satisfaction that this production team must have when they look at the work they did.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever been able to be that proud of anything I've done that I would know took so much effort and caused so much grief for everyone involved, really. I mean, that I don't know that I'll ever be able to really put that much effort into something. And for me, the end result, it was fantastic. I mean, everything about it was amazing. And
I unfortunately, I tried to find it for this, but I did a stop motion short film that won an award years ago too. Yeah, when in high school, we had a film class in high school, and actually I took that class, and there was I had it in the winter semester, so there was actually a Christmas themed film competition where you had to submit a short film about a fruitcake, and my idea was Little Fruitcake Goes to War, and I took like a little chunk of a fruitcake and made a stop animation film of it, like breaking off from its like the rest of the loaf, and then like it like there were like Lego tanks and then like shooting stuff and everything. Like it was very, very difficult to make, and I remember it took me hours and hours and hours to end up with like the 40 some seconds of footage that it was or whatever. So it like like as an award-winning stop motion filmmaker, I know that like the effort that went into this movie is amazing. Yeah.
Award-winning host Ty. And my knee-jerk reaction to a sequel to this is anger. Like the idea of someone making a sequel upsets me very much.
Yeah.
But I think that, and the reason why, do you get why I said Chris Nolan?
No, I don't actually. Why?
Because I think Tim Burton's Batman is shit.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And I like what Chris Nolan does with the same material.
That's fair.
Chris Nolan would make it darker.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, don't get me wrong. The 1989 Batman is a good movie for what it is at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very heavily stylized, but the thing is that the movie's Tim Burton. It's not Batman.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that Tim Burton was doing a Tim Burton film, not using a DC character. I don't think he viewed it that way. He was like, this is my opportunity to show what I can do with my style.
Yes, which I think is kind of similar to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Like that was kind of like he took that into his own style, I think, a lot too. Like I think Marvel kind of kept him more on the source material than he probably wanted to go. But yeah, I think he took a lot of liberties with that. It's kind of in the same vein.
But I really do think Chris Nolan would do a good job with like another version of this film, like even like a live action version of it, or a computer animated version. I mean, obviously, if you did a computer animated Jack as a sequel, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be the same character.
See, that's the thing where my mind goes. Is like I am most often accepting of a reboot when it allows us to see something that we didn't see before. Okay, so I think my clearest example of that is like an older movie that maybe had a grand vision with graphics or visual effects that simply the technology at the time could not do. So now that we have much better cinema, you know, it's like now it's like, okay, let's reboot this movie because the computer graphics we have now can make this visually striking when it could have never been. This movie is like, I think it has to be, like you're saying, it has to be stop animation to have that feeling. So, and it already is a masterclass in stop animation. So it's not like you're going to have someone that's going to redo it and do better and have like, you know, so it's like, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, I don't think it needs a reboot or anything. It's like, I would almost be offended that, not myself, but it's like on behalf of, which I hate when people do, but I would do that. Like, it's like, for the people that made this movie though, it's like they already knocked it out of the park. Why would you try to redo it when there's, you know, like for what reason? Do you think you're going to do it better, or like what's the goal?
Yeah, I mean, even though I love the Matrix trilogy, I firmly believe it would have been better if they'd only made one.
Yeah.
I think the original trilogy is great, but I think that if they just left it at the first one, it would have been fine. I think it would have been fantastic still. And you know, like, well, if you look at, I mean, the Matrix Reloaded was just a visual effects clusterfuck anyway. I mean, that was the whole point of that movie. The story was already done. So for me, I think a sequel to Nightmare wouldn't be as exciting because the whole point is that it's Jack's sort of self-discovery that makes the film. But a reboot, I mean, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to, but I would go into the experience very biased. Like, I would have my mind made up before I saw it, and then we would see where it went from there. Yeah.
I basically, my main argument is it's just unnecessary. This is already like, it's already, you know, a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, as far as like this movie being filling the role of like we were talking about with Batman. Not that I'm calling this the perfect movie, but like for what it is at the time that it was, and even carrying into watching it in today's year, literally 27 years later, I think that it is still just a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and I know that when we watch older movies, one of the biggest concerns you have is how well they've aged. Yeah, and this has aged extremely well.
Yep. That is one of the best things about practical effects like that, is like, if this was computer graphics from 93, like, it'd be horrible. Yeah. It's like, then I'd be begging for a reboot. I'm not sure probably about that. Because
how dare you disagree?
Yeah. Siri, not Siri, Alexa. I get those two bitches mixed up.
You turn that computer off.
Yeah. But yeah, so do you have anything else on your notes that you need to touch on before we hit the final or favorite line?
No, I think I kind of hit everything that I wanted to, as far as, you know, because a lot of it's more like what surrounds the film.
Yes,
is the interesting part.
So we're not actually doing the thing we talked about where we have to like sing the favorite line, right?
No, we are 100% doing that, sir. It was discussed. We agreed on it.
But
you know, Danny Elfman doesn't think he's a good singer either, but he knocked it out of the park.
Okay. Oh, fuck, dude. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Okay, well, I want to go first then to get it over with. So my favorite, I picked this because literally for all of the reasons we were just talking about for liking Jack's Lament. I think that this song like kind of this line illustrates those feelings of, you know, seeing something that seems new and seems fresh, and realizing that you need some sort of shakeup in your life or whatever, and like looking towards that. Oh, somewhere deep inside of these bones, an emptiness began to grow. There's something out there far from home, a longing that I've never known.
Did you just auto-tune yourself?
Yeah, dude, I have to, man. and add a little bit of reverb too, just to make it sound a little better. But yeah, no, I do think that line though, kind of like everyone has felt that feeling like we were talking about before. The grass is greener on the other side thing, the like longing for something that you have not yet experienced and thinking that that's going to be the answer for what you're feeling. And I think like we touched on before though, it's never going to be. Like we talked about with Jack, like even if he thought the answer was Christmas, but I guarantee if he spends years and years and years doing that, it's going to end up feeling the exact same way. But.
Yeah, I feel like for how much I enjoy this movie and how much it's kind of meant to me over the years, there's just one line in the same song actually that pops out at me, and it's because the rhyming is so cheesy.
Okay.
And since I am dead, I can take off my head to recite Shakespearean quotations.
That is a good line. It is a little cheesy.
I would never do another musical again.
Yeah, definitely. I am all for that.
Okay.
But that is one thing that kind of like I kind of forgot to mention, but the way you said that made me think about it. There is a lot of it feels like with musicals, specifically this one, a lot of the times it feels like they're trying to fit in syllables that need to fit into a line that doesn't feel like a normal song. And that's sometimes what rubs me the wrong way of like, I noticed it this time because I actually watched the movie with the words on, and there were certain lyrics that I had misheard in the past and didn't even realize there were extra syllables in. And it was like, oh, I actually like that line less because they're trying to cram in these extra words to make it make sense.
Yeah, that is, have you ever heard the rapper E40?
Of course, yeah. Jesus Christ like had dreads, so shake them.
Like that bizarre thing he would do where he would just completely out of meter, like sometimes people will rap like a different way, like on the beat or off the beat, or they'll fit things in a way that seems odd, or they'll structure the lines in a weird way in the beat, whereas E40 is just like fuck the beat. That's kind of how some of the stuff that you see in musicals ends up. However, I would like to do Newsies at some point. That would be an exception. I love that fucking musical.
There is actually one that I would really like to do, the Book of Mormon.
Really?
Yeah, the Trey Parker and Matt Stone musical. I've never seen that. I would honestly love to do that, but I don't know if there is an official movie version. I thought that like you had to see it live, basically.
You know, for two people that don't particularly like musicals.
Well, I mean, those are kind of like the unconventional, you know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about like, oh, we should do Cats and we should do...
My sister completely wore out the soundtrack to Cats when I was young.
I would only do Cats if we could find the butthole edit. Have you heard about that? Oh my... You know that the recent live action Cats... There was apparently there was a debacle where there was one team of visual effects that they actually added buttholes onto the cat models, because you know how they're people anamorphized or they're on the two. Yeah. So, and then there was a whole other team that had to go in and remove the digitally added cat buttholes. So there's an edit out there of Cats where all of the people on two legs looking like cats have buttholes. So that's the real version. That's the real Cats, in my opinion.
And you heard it here.
But anyways, yeah. So for next week, are you ready for your choice?
Yeah. This
one I feel like is very straightforward. It's just two movies. One of them sounds like it is about a superhero, but it's not. The other doesn't sound like it's about a superhero, but it is.
Oh. I'm going to go with the one that sounds like it's about a superhero, but it's not.
Okay. Well, then next week is a movie called Captain Fantastic. Have you heard anything about this movie before?
No, I didn't. Until this very moment, I had no idea it existed.
Awesome. All right. Well, it is, what is it? I think 2016. 2016 film, stars Viggo Mortensen. It's kind of just like a family-centered drama. I haven't seen it in a while. I remembered I saw it one time a few years ago. Thought that it was pretty interesting. And recently I was just trying to look for some more movies to add to the list, and this is one that popped up, and I was like, oh shit, I would like to rewatch that. So yeah, let's How do you feel about old Vigo? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I like a good bit of his work. History of Violence was probably one of my favorite ones he did.
Oh, that's a good movie. Yeah, that's a good one.
I was like, no, I'm Joey. I'm Joey. Yeah, that was, yeah. I mean, and then Lord of the Rings.
Of course, like, yeah, you can't really have a conversation about him without talking about Lord of the Rings, of course. But yeah,
that was the most badass cry ever done in film history ever.
Oh, when he, hold on, what are you talking about?
When Boromir dies.
Okay, yes. Well, there's also, for some reason, when you said cry, I picture, like there's two meanings of the word cry, like crying and then to cry. Yeah, because the scene where he kicks the helmet and breaks his foot and screams, like that was also a badass cry, but it was, him actually breaking his foot on kicking a fucking steel helmet on set.
The teary cry in that movie is the one that everyone strives for at every funeral ever.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so guys, that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the discussion, please hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date with what we're doing, and comment below and tell us how you feel about Nightmare Before Christmas. And if you want to further keep up to date or even join us as a guest on a future episode, you can always join our Discord. The link is in the description right down below. And we'll be live next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/TylerTV talking about Captain Fantastic. So thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you all have a great week.